This is an interesting one to do with parallel time zones and how confusion can happen. So we go into a house, and I was called here because they couldn't sell the house. Didn't matter what price, it wouldn't sell. And this man had given up his city job to go and be a chicken farmer out in Glastonbury. So why not? And the problem was that the house had been built from the 1600s right up to modern day, and so many stories were happening that the house was confused. It was stuck in about 8 different time zones. It's like going to the theatre and having 8 different stage sets, people in different costumes, all acting and living life at the same time in different time zones, but here now. And you could see them, and like no one was talking to each other, because one time zone doesn't necessarily connect or communicate with another. So as a consultant going in and you're able to see this, you can take a different view and process it. And this is an important thing, that when we build extensions as architects, clients, whatever, we build an extension. The wording is wrong. What happens when we build an extension? Yeah, it's kind of not, I prefer to call it an integration. Let's design an integration and an expansion to the building. Once you create an extension, you're building in a different time zone. Why should that building want to talk to the original soul of the building? Why would it connect in resonance? How does the geometry connect? And so on.
The theme is the Feng Shui of powerful cities, but obviously people live in the cities. And the way we're trained is that if you create beauty, the people will love their environment and they'll love each other, okay? But if you create ugliness and utilitarianism, then the people will be fighting the urge to be selfish and destructive. People are very much influenced by their environment. So put somebody in an ugly-looking environment, and they won't look after it, okay? And I mean, Feng Shui is ultimately about love, and it's about the love and reverence of life, okay? For life, self, and others. So it's not about sort of pot plants and interiors and things like that, although that can come into it. It is really about understanding how to align the human with the earth and the human with the heaven, and how to combine with your environment. So urban planners need to pay a little bit more attention, I feel, to the wealth that Feng Shui can offer, the wealth of knowledge that Feng Shui can offer, because an expert can advise the urban planner on decision making, okay? So it's not just a question of the Feng Shui master coming along and saying, you must do this. It's a question of the right solution for the problem at hand. Okay, so there's a lot of dialogue with engineers, planners, architects, council members. Urban planning can get quite complicated.
Okay, same for the building. Not all houses are built on flat ground, It's best, of course. But sometimes you live on a slope and you have to face sideways to get a good orientation. Right? In this case, to build a house, of course, you need to level the house. I don't think anyone would want to build a house with a slanting foundation. Okay, so a house will look like this. And the same thing, when you are inside of the house, looking out, same like me, I'm looking out. So on the left side will be plus, and on the right side will be minus, okay? So this is a good Feng Shui. You don't go the other way around, where the right side is on the higher ground. Then you have more happenings in your family. Okay? Okay, now I come to another aspect of it. This is a trigram. It can simulate different directions, okay? And it can simulate many, many other things. I will show you later. So first, we'll talk about Qian, which is the most young trigram, and then I'll talk on the Kun, which is the earth, simulates the earth, okay? And also others. The other two will be Li Gua and Kan Gua. These will be the other two. Let me go into this because some of you may not know what is this all about. What are these broken lines and continuous line all about? Okay.
Right. So yes, I've taken some time to study environmental psychology because I believe that there is a science in Feng Shui. It's not completely science. It's more art, and there's a bit of science. But there's more and more science sort of coming forward. And believe it or not, there are probably about 12 or 14 scientific papers on Feng Shui specifically, and there are probably about 100 papers that mention Feng Shui. So it's happening. But it's been going on for a long time, 4,000 years probably. And the environmental psychology is going on just literally for 100 years. So it's a new sort of discipline. But the definitions of Feng Shui and environmental psychology are almost the same, just the wording slightly different. So Feng Shui sort of concerned with 3 types of luck: heavenly, human, and earth, and relationship between environments and people. And the same goes for environmental psychology. Actually, the quote by Winston Churchill, "We shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us," nicely kind of summarized the Western view of Feng Shui or environmental psychology. And he's kind of been branded as a grandfather of environmental psychology. He was very fond of this quote, and he mentioned it many times. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a few sort of examples how Feng Shui and environmental psychology overlap. I haven't put in all the references. They're actually going to be in my book called The Science on Feng Shui that I will publish next year. So I didn't want to sort of, the slides would be very long if I just put all the references. So a couple of sort of key principles and what Feng Shui says and what environmental psychology says about that.
Before I start the PowerPoints, I must just say that the title Indian Feng Shui is not mine. But we won't go there. I have a great objection to it being called Indian Feng Shui, much as I suspect that Feng Shui consultants object to it as well. There is a common heritage, as I think you will find. This is just going to be a taster. If you're that interested, talk to the society. They might be able to sort of put my arm up my back and I'll run a workshop. But this is just a taster and some idea of the basic principles of Vastu, not necessarily to compare it to Feng Shui, but I know you will be making comparisons as you go. Vastu has a more obvious spiritual basis. This little prayer is what should be recited by a Vastu consultant when he is approaching a home or any other building. It's quite interesting, and if you read it quickly, you'll see that, yes, it makes perfect common sense. And then you read it again, and you spot an interesting word in there. It's not just about restoring order to a building or any space. It's cosmic order.
I'll wrap up by saying the Feng Shui compass, the Lopan, is a work in progress. Rings have come in, rings have come out. Most of the stuff that's going on nowadays in Feng Shui, the San Yuan tradition, is really only 600 or 700 years old in terms of when it appears on Lopans. There have been very recent Lopans that are including separate dials in which you can work out your flying stars, you can work out your 8 mansion systems, you can work out your Dragon Gate systems. You take your choice which rings you use. You take your choice which rings you want to add to your Lopan when you get yours made up, when you become a famous master, or even just for your own pleasure. It's calendrical, it's metaphysical scientific, it's talismanic. and it's also becoming a kind of crib sheet table as well. I give you the beauty of the Lopan, work in progress.
How do we determine chemistry? Very easy. For those who understand 4 pillars of destiny and actually practice it, it's very easy. Like if I were to grab anyone's birth chart, I would look at it, and a couple's birth chart, basically, I would look at the husband and the wife and determine whether they are really compatible to each other. And if you're not, what's going to happen? Well, there are lots of remedies that we can cover. It's very difficult for me to cover all types of remedies here in this short presentation. The other hexagram I want to quickly cover is hexagram number 32. It talks about managing a relationship. Remember how the previous hexagram you had the youngest female on top and the youngest male on the bottom. Now this has changed. With hexagram 32, you got this, the oldest son, and now you got the oldest daughter. So now what the I Ching is telling us is that the oldest man who's already married, he has to be out there and working, while the oldest daughter is at home taking care of the family household chores and all that. Obviously, it's very difficult right now, economic issues. We all have to go to work. When we go to work, relationship might suffer because you see your partner less. And the I Ching tells us that it is, in general, better for the male to be on the outside working and the female to be at home and taking care of the kids and so on and so forth. A lot of people might disagree with this. It's fine. But obviously, this is the formula to follow.